Hi guys, HT Movies here. Today I will show you a horror thriller movie from 2018, titled Apostle. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. The movie is set in England in 1905, and features Thomas Richardson, as he journeys to a secluded island to save his dearest sister Jennifer. Jennifer has been taken hostage by a dark and mysterious religious cult who has demanded a ransom in exchange for Jennifer's safe arrival. After learning that, Thomas was a former missionary who had been tortured when he sought to introduce Christianity into Peking in the Boxer Rebellion. It is known why Thomas hates religion so much. His religious beliefs and faith in God had been destroyed due to the suffering and absence of spiritual assistance. As a hoax, Thomas pretends to worship the prophet Malcolm, the cult leader who was responsible for establishing the religion on the island. He and the other two companions, Frank and Quinn, were purportedly stranded on the island due to a shipwreck. Struggling with starvation and scarcity, Prophet Malcolm developed a strategy to abduct a wealthy individual and demand a hefty ransom to feed his community. Thomas makes his way into the church. Suddenly, Thomas notices a woman with a white head strolling outside the window with her hair down, and it was at this point that we discovered that perhaps not everything is as it appears. The first night on the island, Thomas slips out of his lodging after curfew has been lifted by the authorities. As he looks through the windows of neighboring houses, he notices a guy slicing his wife's arm and collecting the blood into a glass jar. While in another residence, Thomas observes Malcolm entering his cellar using a secret trap door. When he returns to his guest house where he had been staying, he is baffled by the sight of jars containing blood perfectly aligned along the passage outside each door. His appearance as a believer is important to him. Therefore, some of the blood from the filled jars is transferred to an empty jar outside his door. The white-head lady could be seen standing nearby keeping an eye on things. When he opened the door to his room, he was stung by a sharp edge on the key, spilling some blood on the floor. The blood drained down the creaks of the floor where the white goddess desperately tried to get a sip of the blood. As he develops a strategy, he creates a map of the island's drawings and stashes it beneath the desk for later reference. The following day, Thomas was approached by a man named Jeremy. He asked Thomas to help him retrieve the wood from the damaged boat. After helping Jeremy, it was Thomas's turn to ask Jeremy for help, and he was happy to help him.
Sir, I must go now.
No, you don't. Christ's sake, be a man.
Thomas gives a photograph of his sister. However, Jeremy is frightened to see the photo and tries to back off from Thomas. Jeremy admits that he saw her locked up on the boat about a month ago, and that he was informed about the ransom plot by his father, Frank. Jeremy strongly advises Thomas to refuse to pay the ransom. Thomas told him that if Jeremy did not assist him, he would expose Jeremy's romance with another beautiful girl, Fionn, who is Quinn's daughter, to the whole village. As the leaders discover that not everyone in their flock is a true one, they decide to gather all newbies to the church. Malcolm would then interrogate Thomas and the other newly arrived males, to find which of them had been out after curfew the night before. A man in the crowd yelling for king and country attempts to stab Malcolm, but is stopped by Thomas trying to merge in and keep his identity cover. Malcolm's bodyguards immediately throw spears at the man, and Thomas gets slit across the chest before the man has attacked. Andrea, Malcolm's daughter, stitches him back together, and Malcolm declares that if Thomas bleeds for him, he bleeds for Thomas. Thomas and Malcolm are now blood brothers as a result of Malcolm's handcutting. Malcolm has become increasingly eager to track out the intruder, so he displays Jennifer, Thomas' sister, through the neighborhood. It was declared that if she was a traitor and a spy, and that if her fellow conspirator didn't show up themselves, she would be killed. Initially, he intends to chop off a portion of her hair as a warning to draw the hiding intruder, but that plan does not pan out. As a result, Malcolm plans a party for the following night as a cover to search the boarding homes for the ransom money. During this procedure, he discovers Thomas's map and realizes that he had been the intruder all along. During the celebration and Malcolm's investigation, Thomas grabs advantage of the chance to walk beneath Malcolm's house and discover the hidden tunnel. Malcolm is waiting for Thomas on the opposite side of the tunnel with a shotgun, and another individual is following him into the tunnel. As soon as Thomas realizes he is in a trap, he escapes by passing through another passage filled with blood and guts. After a while, the goddess emerges from the filthy waters and chases him. Somehow, he manages to escape and makes his way to the end of the tunnel. He finds a cave with numerous unusual marks and pictures on the walls, which appear to show the old woman, the divine power, and people worshipping to her, among other things. Andrea locates Thomas in the morning, and provides him with some new clothes to wear. At this point, Thomas explains to her that Jennifer isn't a spy but has been kidnapped, and that the man she believes to be her father is not the man he is. On the other hand, Malcolm goes to the goddess who is hiding inside a nest covered by trees. He feeds her his blood, and accuses her of ruining their crops. In the background, as he provides her with blood, the bushes surrounding her sprout new green leaves, and a guy with a bloodied body wearing a weird mask made of twigs whom we shall refer to as the grinder, drags someone away in a sack. However, Jennifer is the one inside the sack, and the grinder lifts a sack and hooks it up. Jeremy learns of Fion's pregnancy while on the island, and knowing that her dad Quinn will not accept them being together, the couple decides to leave the island. Quinn eventually tracks her down while she is packing her belongings, and abuses her after realizing that she is expecting a child with Jeremy. Considering his awareness of the animal's previous pregnancies, Quinn informs her that her unborn kid will be a disfigured monster, and he proceeds to do an abortion on her with a knife, slaughtering her in the act. When Jeremy arrives at Fion's house, he discovers her lying on the floor covered in blood. After that, he gets into a messy fight with Quinn, who would eventually take it to the street. When Quinn has the chance to gather cooperation from the villagers, he falsely accuses Jeremy of the murder of his daughter. Jeremy flees for his life, fearful for his safety, and ends up bumping into Thomas and Andrea in the middle of the field. When Thomas and Jeremy are arrested, Thomas is forced to stand by and watch Jeremy abused and gruesomely murdered as an offering to the goddess which he did not want to witness. Quinn proclaims Malcolm to be a false prophet, and insists that he show his faith in the goddess himself by killing Thomas. Despite Andrea's pleas to not kill Thomas, Malcolm proceeds to approach him with a knife. After discovering his son's death, Frank enters the scene with a gun and declares this has to end, she has to die. When Thomas is allowed to run, he takes cover in a remote cabin where he sees Frank killed by the bloodied grinder. In the midst of their arrival, Quinn fires a bullet on Malcolm's shoulder, making him fall into a trap door leading down into the strange tunnel. Thomas tries to quietly hide in the home, where he encounters a decapitated Jeremy and the grinder who is forced feeding the goddess with Jeremy's blood. As a result, the leaves begin to sprout once more. Thomas manages to rescue Jennifer from her bag, but he is knocked in the head by the grinder, and he opens his eyes to find himself fastened to a tabletop and being dragged into a giant meat grinder. Before Thomas is able to escape himself from the grinder and kill him with some cords, the meat grinder destroys a few of his fingers. While everything is going on, Quinn has caught Jennifer and tied her up with Andrea, telling her that her father has died. Quinn confesses that he is the one who trapped the old deity in the tree nest when they landed on the island. Additionally, he says when he recognized what the goddess was capable of doing, he did everything to make the island prosper. On the other hand, Malcolm was too afraid to give her what she craved the most, the flesh of human beings. Quinn declares that both Andrea and Jennifer should serve their bodies to him. He will impregnate them, and he can feed the new babies to the goddess every year for the village to run smoothly. As Thomas heads towards the goddess in the nest, she communicates to him in an eerie language while clutching on his head and spreading plant vines beneath his body. Thomas falls into an uncontrollable trance. This is the point at which he learns how Malcolm and Quinn took advantage of her. She then begs him to set her free, and he responds by lighting fire to her tree nests, killing the goddess and allowing her to go forever finally. As the goddess gorges in flames, the village burns alongside, causing the locals to run to the boats to save their lives. Quinn is stabbed in the neck as Thomas comes to the village looking for his sister. On the other hand, Quinn succeeds in repeatedly stabbing Thomas in the ribs before death finds him. However, because of Thomas's wounds, he could not escape with his sister and Andrea and make it to the boat in time. In the midst of leaving him there, he pleads them to pray for him, and as the boat pulls away, Malcolm with an injured shoulder comes across Thomas resting on the grass. While his blood is trickling from his wounds, Thomas notices the grass rising around him and starts giggling as the greenery covers him and penetrates through his flesh. His eyes become like the goddess's eyes, and soon the entire island feeds on him. As this happens, the island turns from gray to green again, as now they have found their new sustainer. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, so you can watch more video like this. Thanks for watching this video until the end. and see you in the next video.